Hello and welcome to today's session. In this session, we'll be discussing tourism management, and it's a 10 module course. It's a 10 module course. And then for today's session, we'll be discussing the introduction to tourism management. So, introduction, what is tourism? Tourism has become one of the most dynamic and influential industries impacting economies, societies, and environments across the globe. It is not merely about travel and leisure. It is a complex system that combines management, culture, economics, hospitality, geography, and sustainability. In this model, learners will explore how tourism operates, the characteristics that makes it unique, the key players in the tourism system, and the principles that guide the effective management of tourism enterprise. So here are the learning objectives. So at the end of this module, learners should be able to define tourism and tourism management, explain the evolution of tourism, define key sectors, discuss management principles, recognize stakeholder roles, and explain tourism sustainability impact. Now, in this next slide, we're going to be defining we're going to be defining tourism. So this is titled Definition and Concept of Tourism. The term tourism can be defined as the temporal movement of people from their usual place of residence to destinations outside their normal environment for leisure, business, and for other purposes. The United Nations World Tourism Organization defines tourism as the activities of persons traveling to and staying in places outside of their usual environment for not more than one consecutive year for leisure, business, or other purposes not related to the exercise of an activity, remunerated from within the place visited. So in simple terms, tourism is just about, in simple terms, tourism is about travel, experiences, and services. It encompasses transportation, accommodation, attraction, entertainment, and the relationship between the tourist and the host community. In this next slide, we're going to be talking about the historical background of tourism. Tourism is not a modern phenomenon. It originates back to ancient civilization, as far back as, the ancient civilization. The Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, they all traveled for trade, festivals, and, explorations. However, modern tourism began to develop during the Industrial Revolution of the 18th to the 19th century. Now, in the 20th century, mass tourism emerged, driven by economic growth, increased leisure time, and globalization. And based on data, we have seen that tourism is contributing over 10% of global GDP and employing hundreds of millions of people worldwide. So in this next slide, we'll be talking about nature and characteristics of tourism. So when we talk about the nature and characteristics of tourism, we're talking about the things that make tourism unique. Tourism is intangible. Tourism is perishable. Tourism is heterogenetic. Tourism is seasonal. Tourism is independent, and then tourism is interdependence, and then tourism has the human element. Now, how do we mean when we say tourism is intangible? Tourism is an experience-based product. You cannot touch or test a vacation before you purchase it. Perishable, like we say, tourism services cannot be stored or resold later. Yeah, for instance, an empty hotel room or a missed flight cannot be, cannot be used tomorrow. It is heterogenetic. Heterogenetic means that every tourist experience is different depending on personal preference, service quality, and environmental condition. Tourism is also seasonal. Tourism demand fluctuates with time, seasons, and cultural events. For example, the beach destinations are busier during the summer, whilst ski resorts is busier during the winter. Interdependence. Now, tourism system relies on multiple sectors. It relies on transportation sector, it relies on the accommodation sector, it relies on the attraction and the entertainment. So all of these things have to be in place to have a successful tourism center, a successful tourism system. Now, there's also the human element. Tourism is heavily people-centered. The quality of service, hospitality, and even the attitude of staff directly influences tourism satisfaction. Here we're going to be talking about the components of tourism industry, the components of the tourism industry. And we have the 5 A's of tourism: attraction, accessibility, accommodation, amenities, and activities. Attraction in the sense that, when we say attraction, we're talking about the natural, cultural, or man-made features that motivate people to visit destinations. Example, wildlife park, beaches, museum, festivals, and festivals, etc. Accessibility. Accessibility, that means the transportation system, infrastructures that make destinations reachable, airlines, roads, railways, ports, etc. We also have accommodation, facilities that provide lodging and hospitality to tourists, as hotels, guest house, resorts, Airbnbs, and all of that. Amenities, supporting services and facilities that enhance the tourist experience. Places like the restaurants, the shops, tour guides, banks, internet access, and all of those kind of things. And then we also have activities. That's in activities, we're talking about the leisure, adventure, or cultural experiences that the tourists engage in: sightseeing, hiking, safari, cruises, conferences, etc. So these are the 5 A's of tourism. These are the things that make the components of tourism. Now, in this next slide, we're going to talk about the importance of tourism. What makes tourism important? The importance of tourism. We have the economic importance, we have the socio-cultural importance, we have the environmental importance. Now, when we talk about the economic importance, we're talking about things like employment creation, foreign exchange earnings, revenue generation, investments, and infrastructure. These are the things that, these are things that makes tourism important. These are the things that make tourism important economically. Now we have social and cultural importance, cultural exchange, as for instance, as a Nigerian, you travel to China, you get to experience the Chinese culture and all of those things. We have cultural preservation, quality of life. When we talk about cultural preservation, it encourages the protection and promotion of traditional arts traditional art, music, and heritage sites. Quality of life. What we say quality of life, we're talking about local communities. Is it quality? When we talk about quality of life, the fact that local communities often benefit from improved amenities and recreational facilities. And then we also have the environmental importance. We have the environmental importance. We have things like conservation awareness. Ecotourism promotes protection of natural resources and wildlife. We have sustainable practice. Responsible. This sustainable practice is responsible. Sorry, we have sustainable practice. Responsible tourism encourages recycling, energy conservation, and minimal minimal environmental impact. So these are the importance of tourism. We also have the principles of tourism management. Principles of tourism management. Tourism management involves planning, organization, coordination, and controlling tourism activities and services to achieve specific objective. So the key principles here include sustainability, quality and efficiency, community participation, integration, innovation and adaptability, ethics and responsibility. Now, when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about, the fact that tourism must balance economic growth with environmental protection and cultural preservation. We talk about quality and efficiency. High standard of service ensures customer satisfaction and repeat visits. We also have another principle here is community participation. Locals should be involved in decision making and benefit from tourism income. Integration, tourism planning should align with national development goals and other sectors. Innovation and adaptability. What we're talking about the fact that technological advancements, technological advancements, marketing, and creative experiences enhance competitiveness. Ethics and responsibility. Respect for local traditions, laws, and the environment. Respect for local traditions, laws, and environments is essential for long-term success. This next slide, we're talking about the stakeholders in tourism. Tourism involves collaboration among several key players, each performing distinct but interconnected roles. So who are the stakeholders in tourism? We have government agencies, private sector, local community, non-governmental organization, and then the tourists. Now, what are their roles? For instance, the government agencies, the government agencies are responsible for formulating tourism policy, providing infrastructure, regulating operations, and promoting destinations. The private sectors, they invest in hotels, travel agencies, airlines, and other businesses that deliver tourism services. Also have the local communities. These local communities, they offer cultural experiences, traditional crafts, and hospitality while helping preserve the local identity. Non-governmental organizations, that is the NGOs, these are their advocates for sustainable and ethical tourism practice. And then we also have the tourists, the behavior of the tourists, the spending of the tourists, feedback, all of these things, they shape the success and image of the destination. So In other words, successful tourism management depends on cooperation amongst all of these all of these stakeholders. Here we have the challenges of tourism. What are those things that make tourism management challenging? What are the challenges that tourism management face? So, you know, number one, we have over tourism, we have political instability and security concerns, we have economic fluctuation, pandemics and health crisis, technological distributions, and then we have technological distribution. So we narrow it down to five. Now, when we say over tourism, what do we mean? You know, over tourism, leads to environmental degradation and loss of cultural authenticity. When a place has been uh, when there's over tourism in a particular location, it can lead to environmental degradation and loss of cultural authenticity. Then we also have the political instability and security concerns. You know, things like this, political instability and security concerns discourages, it plays a role of discouraging travel to certain destinations. For instance, if you hear that a particular country is not safe, you know, security wise, of course you wouldn't want to travel to such a place. So these are what some of the challenges. And then there's also economic fluctuation. This affects travelers, you know, it affects travelers' disposable income and spending. So the fluctuation in, for instance, forex exchange, monies, and all of those things. Then we also have things like pandemic and health crisis, as seen with the COVID-19, which drastically reduced global travel. So this is a very major challenge. And then the last here is technological distribution, such as online booking platforms and virtual tourism, changing the traditional business roles. Now, because of the advancement in technology, there are some people can now, we now have things like virtual tourism, instead of the traditional tourism where you just have to, really visit that place. You can have virtual tourism now, and this has become a challenge. Has become a challenge. So we are going to take case study for in this particular module. We are going to be discussing for module one of our case study will be Dubai as a model for tourism management. So Dubai in the United Arab Emirates provides a strong example of successful tourism management. Once it was once a desert, and Dubai was once a desert. Dubai strategically diversified its economy through investment in luxury tourism, infrastructure, and global marketing. The government's tourism strategy focuses on innovation, quality service, and sustainability. As a result, Dubai has become one of the top global destinations, attracting millions of visitors annually and contributing significantly to the UAE's GDP. This case illustrates how effective management, vision, and collaboration can transform tourism into a sustainable economic powerhouse. And now, in conclusion, tourism is far more than travel, like we already established. Is far more than travel. It is a global system that connects people, culture, and and economies. Understanding its nature, structure, and management principles is essential for anyone aspiring to work, anyone aspiring to work professionally in this field. Effective tourism management ensures sustainable growth, enhances visitor satisfaction, and benefits host communities. Thank you very much for joining this first module. See you in module 2.